building knowledge versus building game, coming from KC, that's a really good question. It's often actually a point of conversation between students and instructors. And so let's define what each of them means, and then we can talk about which one is more important and which one you should focus on. A building knowledge would be at least in my mind, it would be compiling information, a large amount of information, to have a big picture and become a library, an encyclopedia of jiu-jitsu motions, concepts, techniques, transitions, everything jiu-jitsu related, maybe even the historical parts of, engaging in this big realm and bucket of jiu-jitsu. Now, developing your game is very different. Developing a game, this is becoming an expert in one specific thing. There's one subset of motions, or one subset of techniques, one subset of concept that you are really, really, really good at. That doesn't mean you don't know anything else, but just means that you are an expert in this one thing. This is your game. So essentially, when we look at sparring sessions or competition, everything should be leading into that game point, because once you are in your game, you're going to do very well, because all the in and outs, all the answers, every move can have an answer, and you know how to answer them, right? So it puts you in a high point of success. Now, once you're outside of that game, things could be a little rocky. This is where your strong points are not as strong, right? So there's a big difference between those two. So why would one want to do another versus the other one, right? So if you're a competitor, you definitely want to develop a strong game. You want to have a good knowledge of things where you're not lost and confused or surprised. However, you need to have your game. You need to have this one pillar that you're really, really good at. Now, if you're a hobbyist, somebody who is exploring jiu-jitsu, that having your game, quote unquote, part, probably is going to shrink a little bit. You still could have your game, but it's not going to be as serious as if you are a competitor. Now, gaining general knowledge and being the encyclopedia of jiu-jitsu, this is where I think for most hobbyists, it will become a big focus. They will continue exploring different things, from guard, passing guard, different guard styles, different sweeps, different reversals. They will be experimenting. Some of those points will stick around and they will find them very attractive. Some of those points they will file their way as part of the quote unquote their game, but they're not necessarily going to be driving so hard to become an expert in this one particular area. I think the focus will be a little bit more broad. So with that being said, which one should you focus on? And I think a lot of it will depend on what you want out of jiu-jitsu. We have a lot of students here at the Roll Academy who, they are in their 40s, 50s, they have their jobs, profession, and they have little or no desire of being a world champion. This is not their goal, and that's fine, no judgment whatsoever, right? However, their general knowledge of jiu-jitsu continues growing. They're not necessarily expert in berimbolo, de la Riva, or spider guard, or perhaps butterfly sweeps, or they're just trying to gain a general knowledge of all jiu-jitsu. They're trying to understand as much jiu-jitsu as possible, right? However, we have some individuals who are competitors. And the often conversation is like, what is your strong point? Because you are at the competition to win. You are not there to, socialize or make friends and so on. You are the main objective of you being there is to win the tournament. And this is where you play your strongest points. You play your strongest cards. So what is your game? Identifying that and continue working to improve that game is going to bring you the highest success. So as you can see, the focuses between those two are very different. Simply by definition, those are two different things that you could be achieving. Can you mix and match them? Yes, I think you can. You can have your game in a specific area and continue seeking the general knowledge and building that knowledge, continue expanding your knowledge. But we do have to acknowledge the fact, once you focus on one, the other one will set back a little bit. And if you focus on building general knowledge, you are definitely not hyper focusing on being an expert in one area. If you focus on that one area, you want to develop your game, quote unquote, your general knowledge might suffer simply because you are such simply hyper focused on this one subject. So I think that's what creates jiu-jitsu, and that's what really is so beautiful about it. It gives us diversity and gives us ability to pick and choose what we want to do and how we want to train and what we want to train. So the only thing we shouldn't do is quit. So keep on training. See you on the mat. Peace.